Hey, good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome into the Volquest Mailbag Podcast. I'm Eric Kane with Rob Lewis, Brent Hubbs, and Austin Price. We will start with a basketball question. Rob, did Gainey ever file an appeal for a fifth year?
Well, I mean, not a lawsuit, but he's piggybacking on Zakai and everybody else. So, I mean, I don't know. Appeal with the NCAA, not that I'm aware of. I mean, he didn't hire a lawyer as Zakai did.
Bonus question here, just next step for Zakai. I know he's appealing right now. I mean, your conversations.
I'm not aware that there is a next step for Zakai. Okay. I mean, appeal to a higher court. I mean, we were over there. We're recording this on Wednesday. We were over there on, have open practice, talking to coaches, and that was not a topic that came up from anybody.
Gotcha.
It feels like the NCAA has figured out a way to limit the immediate, injunction against it. And it kind of feels like it did years ago when there was always talk about somebody trying to turn pro after their sophomore year instead of waiting until their junior year. And, everybody said, well, it's fine, but the NCAA will tie it up in court for a year. It feels like they've got this to where after the Pavia deal, they've won enough cases against the immediate injunction to prevent immediate eligibility, and you tie it up longer to where it's kind of pointless to pursue it. That's kind of what it feels like they're doing. I mean, it's what they did with Alberto, obviously.
Yeah, exactly what they did with Alberto.
It feels like that's what they've done to start here with Zakai on this deal. I mean, I think we all agree at some point it's going to be 5 years of eligibility. I just think the NCAA is trying to tie this up so that they don't have a bunch of retro, influx of people, with getting the, retro getting a year, trying to make it a different effective date. So we'll see, but it doesn't feel like there's any momentum in Zakai's favor right now. I'm with Rob.
And frankly, I mean, we talked about this before, they do it now, and you almost have to do it, in my opinion, with the 15, make it 15 scholarships. Because if you do it now, hey, everybody's got 5 years. I mean, just massive, chaos with roster management,
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, I don't think the NCAA is thinking that necessarily was in Zakai's ruling, but that's an offshoot of what's reality there in the summer.
Yep, no doubt.
A couple here from Athrun. Is losing Dylan Loy as big of a deal as it looks on the surface with how much this staff loves to recruit? Yeah, I kind of see what you're saying with the question, and so I would agree with you. I mean, don't get me wrong, Dylan Loy, tremendous talent. They didn't want to lose him. They didn't want him to go. They wanted him to be back and be pitching for Tennessee. He led the SEC with 33 appearances this year, so clearly they trust him. Clearly they loved his defined role, so they didn't want to lose him. But to your point, there's talent on top of talent on top of talent. They're going to find a guy to replace him and replace that role. And we'll see what happens. I think for Dylan Loy, he just wanted an opportunity to explore his options. He's going into his draft year. He wanted to do what's best for him. Loved pitching here at Tennessee as a local kid and wants to pursue some other opportunities. So I didn't want him to go, okay? But, yeah, they'll find somebody to replace him in his role. You stated the staff wants multiple Leos in this class. What's the number? 3? ?
That's a great question. I don't know if there is a set number, so to speak. I mean, obviously, Tennessee is recruiting Hezekiah Harris, Tristan Givens, Joel Wyatt. They were hoping that Dre Quinn would be in this weekend, but that's not going to happen. They already have C.J. Edwards committed. What is the Groves kid? I know the Groves kid wants to play Leo. He's already over 250 pounds, so he better start going the other direction if he wants to play Leo, or really kind of stand still, don't move. Because, weight-wise, they don't get much bigger than about 250-ish. So, they have some options there. Tennessee, obviously, with a big weekend this weekend with Hezekiah Harris coming in. Tennessee's had a lot of momentum there. And then, of course, they have some momentum leaving the visit last weekend with Tristan Givens. But he does go to A&M this weekend, so A&M will try to flip that back.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to turn any of those 3 you mentioned down. I mean, right? I mean, Hezekiah Harris they're not turning down. They're not turning down Givens, and they're not going to turn down Wyatt. I mean, and they've already got one in. So, I mean, I don't know that I think the day and age of, boy, we want 3 safeties or we want, 2 linebackers or 4. I think those days are a bit over because of the transfer portal. I'm not saying you only take best available, but I think you just we'll figure it out. We're not going to turn one away necessarily because we can't take one extra guy at that position because we've only slotted to take 3 because of the turnover that's happening on your roster every offseason.
Correct. And the fact that you're going from 85 to 105, I mean, you have the chance to fill in more spots with quality players. It doesn't all have to be just, well, take our current walk-ons and give 20 of them scholarships. Like, no, you can give some of those guys scholarships that you feel like can help you. But absolutely, you take that extra 20 and try to fill it out with the best available player. And that may mean taking a larger number of a certain position than maybe you normally would take.
How many defensive linemen do they want to take in this class? Who would you say are the top priorities of the entire defensive line? You talked about Leo.
Yeah, I mean, J.J. Finch obviously is one that Tennessee's pretty far down the road with. He's deciding on Sunday. It's Tennessee, Alabama, and then we'll see if Miami can enter the picture with their official visit this weekend for him. You know, I think Tennessee will end up getting Iverson Garcia, the kid from Powell. You know, I mean, it's Tennessee versus South Florida. I mean, but you just never know. Like, again, what does he want? It's not as simple as, like, I know the Vol fans on Volquest go, well, that's a no-brainer. But at the same time, like, not every kid covets playing for Tennessee like the Vol fans on Volquest do. It's a different thing. He has to decide what he wants to do. I still think he ends up at Tennessee, but, you know, South Florida may make him feel like he's going to be a superstar there, you know, versus just another player in Knoxville. So I think it depends on kind of what he wants, how he views it and all that. But again, based off everybody I've talked to, it certainly sounds like Tennessee's still in a good spot there. And Tennessee wants to continue to try to be a player for several of these defensive linemen over the next, you know, couple of weeks. They've got a couple more coming in this weekend. Where does it go? I don't know. Time will tell. But, you know, Tennessee would like to add at least a couple of interior defensive linemen.
AP, what about the kid from Columbus, Mississippi, who was in this past weekend, Darion Albert?
Yeah, Darion Albert.
He's at Mississippi State this weekend, right?
And there's the fear, Brent. Like, you know, Tennessee left last weekend. I would tell you he's picking Tennessee right now. But he's going to go to Mississippi State. And how do they view him versus how does Tennessee view him? Again, money's not unlimited. And so a school may be willing to pay a player more that you think is a lesser school, but like they're taking their Rev Share money and that's one of their superstars. Whereas it's, you know, a good player for Tennessee or somebody else, but they don't view them the same financially. I mean, you look at some of the players like Kamari Blair, like what's Wisconsin willing to offer him versus what's Tennessee willing to offer him? Like, you know, it's changed. It's changed a lot with Rev Share, in my opinion, over the last few months. Last year, it was just kind of like, you know, highest bidder wins in most cases, not all. Now this year, it's all of a sudden it's like everybody's got money. See, some of the schools that you never thought would have money. And so they're like, hey, you know, this kid's a really good player for our level. Let's take our Rev Share money and put it towards him. And then he's got to decide, do I take a lot more money at a lesser school or take a little bit less money and go to a school that's a little more proven at a higher level?
And then finally, last question here from Athrun. Pretty easy to see the writing on the wall with Carson Sneed, right?
You know, I don't know. It's easy to anticipate that, right? But he still was here for 865 Live. He's never decommitted, and he's coming back this weekend for the official visit. So everybody just assumes that because his brothers are in North Carolina, and maybe he ends up there. He was pretty open about the fact that he took a one-day visit to North Carolina, one-day official visit. I don't see him going to Florida. If he goes to Florida, it'll be one of the great upsets just based off the fact the kid gave Brent Hubbs quotes about making it through the Butch Jones and Derek Dooley years. I mean, this kid was a diehard Vol fan 2 years ago, and all of a sudden he's going to end up going to the Gators. Like, that would be a very shocking turn. Now, going to play with your brother at North Carolina, I can see that. But again, he's only been over there for a one-day visit. Maybe he doesn't have to. Maybe he just knows that Bill Belichick's going to win big and going to be there forever, and he's going to go. But I don't think it's a closed and shut case on the fact that he's going to end up elsewhere. Let this week play out and see where things are after that.
God, he would have been really young during the Derek Dooley years. Was that like 15 years ago, 14 years ago from now? 18 years old, really young. Let's go to Iheartvols. Rank and order the following in terms of importance in building a championship team. This could be in any college sport, not just football. Coaching staff, the ability to recruit. Coaching staff's ability with the X's and O's in development. NIL, facilities, in-state talent?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that you rank them. I mean, look, you got to be able to recruit players. It requires NIL to recruit players. So I would kind of lump those two together, because I don't think in the day and age of Rev Share, you're just going to outbid everybody. So you're going to have relationships and be able to recruit. And then player development, we've seen the importance of player development at all sports. I mean, it's a big reason why Tony Vitello has been able to get transfers. It's a big reason why Rick Barnes has recruited who he's gotten, is because of player development. I think facilities is at the bottom of the list now.
Agreed.
Compared where it was. In-state talent's important. I don't think you can brother-in-law your in-state talent like maybe you once could back in the olden days when some things were done under the table, if you will. It's all now more on the up and up and out in front. But I just think NIL, player development, and the ability to recruit are kind of all lumped together. I don't know how you separate those, in my opinion. When I read this question, I couldn't really come up with a great separator. Maybe I'm missing something, guys.
Would anything change from taking NIL out of that order, or would it still be the same for you in terms of you can't really rank them?
No, I mean, if there's no NIL, you still got to recruit, because you can't. I mean, you can develop players, but Rob, if you're developing average players, you're not going to be very good. You need to have great talent to develop. You got to be able to develop that great talent, but you're a better basketball team with Nate Ament or with Kevin Durant than you are with a guy who is a real project. So you got to go get great talent, really good talent, and you got to develop that talent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I don't know how you separate. I mean, all that stuff in the NIL era goes together. But I like you guys. It's funny to think about how facilities. It used to be like an arms race, and now that's. I mean, who's raising money for facilities anymore? That's kind of funny. And I wonder what the payback will be, 10, 15 years from now when everybody in the SEC has a $40 million football payroll and cinder block peeling off the underneath the stadiums.
Remember, like 8 or 9 years ago, I think it was LSU. One of the upgrades in the locker room was that they had like a pull-out bed where they could nap pods.
Room. Yeah, nap pods. Yeah,
that was the big deal back then.
Yeah, you got places with fire pits and bowling alleys and slides in their facilities,
And now you got a wide receiver with his hand out.
Yep. Now the guy doesn't look. It's not the only thing he wants at the bottom of the slide is a pot of gold to slide.
I'll buy my own fire pit. What are you saying me?
Exactly.
The starter log. The Kroger.
Vol by Grace, since I'll be there when the pod drops, give me Austin's top 3 places to eat at Disney World. Feel free to include any parks, resorts, anywhere else on the property.
Man, we don't have time for all that. We don't waste everybody's time. I'm not going to give all that extra places to eat.
Give me your top 3. Do your top 3, AP.
Well,
regardless of parks.
Le Cellier in Canada is my number 1. I love that place at Epcot. Character experiences, I would tell you at Animal Kingdom, there's the character meal over there in Africa. The name escapes me because I've been put on the spot here, even though I read these questions. I didn't do a whole lot of thinking because I didn't think I would actually ask this.
Why not?
And then elsewhere, I love just to eat it. I love to eat at Epcot. So like the Japanese steakhouse in Japan is fantastic. And then the Beast Castle in the Magic Kingdom, is always right up there as well.
I was a big fan of the $48 quick snack. That's why I've been one time.
whoever asked this question, I forget who you said, can message me privately and I'll give them more opinions. I just don't want to waste everybody's time. On to the next.
Volken, 5 Tennessee athletics related individuals, could be coaches, players, staff, any sports staff, whatever, living or dead, that you would like to have at your dinner party. So 5 Tennessee athletics individuals that you'd like to have dinner with.
Gus Manning, Haywood Harris, Reggie White, Peyton Manning, and Jawan Jennings.
I'm not going 5 because that's you have dinners is you have 4 people at dinner. Hubbard, I want to throw this one by you.
All right.
Gus Manning, Rick Barnes, D'Angelo Lloyd is my is my four top.
That's your four top.
That's my four top.
I sat on the back of a bus for an hour and a half with Gus Manning and Haywood Harrison, one of the greatest conversations I've ever had in my life, listening to old stories. I never said a word. I know it's hard for you guys to believe. I never spoke for an hour and a half, just listening to those guys. You could never go wrong there. I think Pat Summit's a fascinating conversation that you could have at the dinner party. I think part of it depends on what your dinner party is. Is it a comedy deal? Is it a gathering information, like learning different things like leadership and all that kind of stuff? It depends on what your party is. I mean, I need a banquet hall. I don't know that I can do just 4 or 5.
That's like an impossible question. I'd go John Ward, Gus Manning, Pat Summitt. I'd have Gerald Neal in there.
Yep.
And then, I mean, it's hard. I can't believe I would leave Peyton Manning off. Probably Peyton. Reggie White. Probably Peyton. I guess Peyton would be my 5th. What's the hardest position at the high school ranks to evaluate, and where's the spot that coaches agree 3 stars are most likely to develop into starters?
Offensive line.
Particularly interior offensive line. I think the offensive tackles are different, AP. I think the interior offensive line, you see more, quote, 3-star guys develop into starters more on the inside than you do on the outside at tackle. You think that's fair?
I agree. I totally agree. As far as like toughest to evaluate,
I still think it's the offensive line's toughest to evaluate.
Yeah, I mean, I would also tell you probably quarterbacks, because it's just such a, it is such a hit and miss thing. I mean, whether it be at the NFL level, the college level. I mean, how many? Look at Nico's class. I mean, every one of those kids except for Arch Manning is on school number 2. I mean,
some are on 3.
Yeah, and does that mean they're bad players? No, it probably just means that the area you're in, you just kind of bounce around, or no one's willing to sit around and wait to develop. And so I still think that that's still a hit. It's why you take as many as you can and kind of see where which one pans out.
Well, I think with quarterbacks too, part of the issue is you're taking all those guys so early. I mean, those guys are committing before their junior years of high school in a lot of cases. So, I mean, that's a different. I mean, to me, it's a guy's physical development is a different evaluation when you're evaluating him off, freshman and maybe a couple of games of his sophomore tape versus a guy who's through 3 years. I think the quarterback's more hit and miss because you have to take a guy so early because they're all coming off the board so early now. I mean, it was a thing when you offered an 8th grader 10 years ago. It's
sports. I mean, Sports Illustrated wrote something about CJ Leak getting off. I mean, like it was a story,
right? And now it's commonplace for a guy going into his freshman year of high school, to get a camp offer. I mean, Tennessee did it last week.
There's an 8th grader on a college campus all over the country getting an offer today.
Yeah.
Who does Tristen Keys remind you guys of? He kind of reminds me of Robert Meachem.
Not a bad comparison.
You think Keys is a little more polished than Robert was coming out of high school?
Yeah, I think all players are more polished than the kids were 20 years ago. They just go through so many 7-on-7s. They go through so many interviews. They go through so many, this drill work. I mean, they can do those things in their sleep.
It's a good point.
We'll go to NWGAVOL. Hyder, Keys, Gray. Rank them as we stand today from most to least likely for the Vols to land.
Just like you said them. Hyder, Keys, Gray.
We'll go to Mr. Mrrokytoprowdy. What percentage would you put on Henry Ford landing at Tennessee? I'm not AP, so I'm not going to do a percentage. I think the bigger question is Henry Ford going to be in college next year, or is he going to sign a professional contract? He's ranked MLB number 73 top prospect. He's got a little bit of leverage because he's only a sophomore. He's a draft-eligible sophomore, so his situation is a little bit different, but he's the number 1 overall player in the transfer portal coming from Virginia. I think Tennessee, in order to land a commitment, I think Tennessee's got a real shot at landing the commit of Henry Ford. Mississippi State's obviously in that one. Texas is in that one. He visited Tennessee a couple of weeks ago before the Super Regional. But he's a hot commodity, no doubt. But wherever he commits to, the question is he going to go pro or not? So a big-time draft risk. But in terms of just gaining the commit, We'll see. But I think Tennessee not just in it. I think Tennessee's got a real shot to do that. So we'll see what happens.
When you read that, I'm like, who is him? And I'm thinking the whole that when the Fox team got Gronk with that Rich Russo tight end thing a couple years ago. I was like, Henry Ford.
It's real life. Great name. But I mean, things change all the time too. Like this is kind of going above and beyond. That there was a thread the other day asking about Cruz Schoolcraft and Cameron Appenzeller. A couple weeks ago, those two got very, very, very little chance of making it to the campus. I mean, Schoolcraft is, in terms of a prospect, big board list type guy, he's top 20 prospect, right? But now there's some hope. The staff feels much better about him making it to campus now than they did 2 weeks ago. Would you call Tennessee the favorite to land those two? Probably not. But things change all the time. The MLB draft combine's going on this week. Things change. Asking prices change. Rev Share, NIL. I mean, all these things change by the day. So, as always, the MLB draft is again, always a ride. But Tennessee's in position to, they're going to miss out on some, don't get me wrong, but the ones they're going to get are going to be pretty daggone good as well. And credit Tony and his staff for that. Let's go to Flyfish 21. It seems to me Banks relies on development as a coach versus athletic traits. Do you see this way? Do you see it this way, or is safety not a priority in the NIL world?
I don't see it that way. I mean, I don't think you take average athletes. I don't think you sign average athletes. I mean, they're taking guys that they believe in their ability, that they have enough athletic ability to go with their character traits as a player. I don't think safety is the biggest priority in the NIL world. The same way in the NFL, you're going to pay corners more than you pay safeties. I think that's kind of the case to me. I think the priority in the secondary is nickel, corner, and corners over safeties in terms of when you're talking about how much money you spend in the NIL world.
I agree.
Lfvol says, Brent in the chat said essentially that no one knows how to propose NIL on official visits right now, since Rev Share is pretty well defined. Is NIL discussion centered on a prospect's piece of the pie, plus the uncertain of NIL opportunity? In short, how are the discussions being handled at this stage?
Still learning week by week. They're kind of talking to kids about what their Rev Share number is going to be. And then, after that, I think it depends on kind of each individual player and, who might be able to, warrant actual NIL, because if you got to get past the clearinghouse on this stuff, that any kind of deals are going to have to pass, the smell test. And so I think that's only going to happen for a certain number of kids.
Rob, I think the number of lawsuits that are going to roll from student athletes over the clearinghouse deal is going to be pretty phenomenal once we get into the fall semester. If they're going to kick deals and be this hard, I think the number of antitrust lawsuits that student athletes themselves are going to file against this deal. I think lawyers around the country everywhere are lining up and wait, just like, hey, reject that $1,000 deal. Or $7,000, what a number, a $10,000 deal. Reject that. We'll see you in the court of law. I think everybody's lining up and waiting for that one.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see how you can, limit someone's opportunity to profit. At the end of the day, I just, again, I'm not a legal expert on it. I just don't see how you can tell somebody and that they can make this amount when the market out there says that they could clearly make a lot more.
Nashville 615, what do you think keeps Josh Heupel up at night heading into fall camp? Based on the way he wants to run his offense, I'm guessing running back and center. What about on defense for Tim Banks? Is it safety?
To me, it's quarterback. You got to figure out who your quarterback is.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, losing Dylan Sampson stinks. Dylan Sampson was great, but running back is not keeping me up at night. It's quarterback, wide receiver.
Those are the two for me.
Yeah.
I don't worry about the O-line.
I mean, the O-line, I think we all believe the offensive line is going to be good, but you're still replacing 4 starters on that offensive line. What about defense?
For me, I think it's depth at linebacker. Maybe safety, opposite of Turrentine. We'll see. But depth at linebacker is a bit of a concern for me when you start looking at those numbers, because I don't know where those freshmen are. They're coming off injuries and surgeries. Carter had an off-season procedure. just kind of the health and depth of the linebacker position might make me a little anxious.
Yeah, not just those two freshmen. And you mentioned Arian Carter. Edwin Spillman missed a ton of time last year. Jordan Burns missed a lot of time and had, was behind the 8 ball and didn't have a whole lot of experience. I mean, that whole group really has dealt with its fair share of injuries for sure. What grade would you give football offseason? 2 grades, things that help in 2025 and things that build a future championship contender.
Austin, for me, I like this class that came in. Now, we'll see how they all hold together and everything. But, I mean, this is a highly regarded class. I think when you look at the number of guys and saw their athletic ability in spring practice, you feel good about a lot of the youth in the future of that. Now, you got to keep them all. And then, in terms of things that help you in 25, I mean, again, it may be Joey Aguilar, right? I mean, I think David Sanders is going to help you. I think you're better at right tackle with David Sanders than you would have been with anybody you had last year at the right tackle position. I don't know about a letter grade. I mean, I don't think they've had a bad offseason in any way, shape, or form, even though they lost their starting quarterback.
It's to be determined. I mean, I've talked about unknowns for months. We still don't know. So, I mean, it's hard to give a letter grade on something that, you think it may be a C right now and it may be an A by August or vice versa.
Yeah.
You just don't know. And
well, this time a year ago, I liked the wide receiver group. They didn't play very well.
I'll look at some groups, specifically O-line, specifically wide receiver, and there's still some unknowns there. I'm bullish about the offensive line. I think they're going to be improved, but only time will tell if that's actually the case. I think for Tennessee, Hubbs is right. You like the younger players in the last class and in this current class, as far as I don't mean the recruiting class. I mean like the Jordan Ross group and the group.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I like that group, and they're going to force them to the field. And that's why they didn't go heavily to the portal a whole lot. And that means they like them. And it's time to, put up or shut up, for a lot of these kids. And so they're going to get a chance to go out and prove and try to earn even more NIL money for the following year.
Yeah, the way I read this question was you kind of just mentioned it there, like lack of numbers in the transfer portal. Like Tennessee got 4 in the winter and added 1 more in the spring or whatever it was. So you're at 5. Whereas you look around some of the other teams in the SEC, 8, 9, 10, but they like this class. They're going to force these freshmen on the field. So when I read this question, I thought about lack of transfer portal activity, which might drive to a lower grade for some people. But then again, if you like your freshman, then it doesn't. Pine, with revenue sharing about the starts, how/who is going to decide these individual breakdowns on each player? I know you said in the past the coaches didn't have to talk money with players, and that was a Spire role. Will the coaches now talk money, or will they direct them to whoever is in the general manager's role?
Yeah, the coaches don't talk money. Not at Tennessee. So they'll be directed to people at the university to talk the Rev Share part, and then, to potentially Spire for the extra above the cap stuff that's real NIL that they can go out and get deals on.
With all these official visits happening, what are the coaches telling recruits when they ask how much of the pie they are getting? You kind of just talked about it right there. Let's go to Survey 5449. How many players are we planning on taking in this class, and will we start seeing bigger recruiting classes due to the new scholarship limits?
Yeah, I've seen some people say less. I think Tennessee's going to go more this year. I mean, I think you're trying to get to 105, so why not take some flyers on some kids that you think have some traits and maybe are, maybe a year or two of developmental way, just to see where things go. I mean, I think that you're better off to go that route and then sprinkle in the remaining spots to the 105 with either current walk-ons that you feel can help you or go to the transfer portal.
Yeah, I think, Rob, it's going to be fascinating to kind of see what those last 15 to 20 spots look like on your roster. Are those going to be kind of transient guys? Basically, you bring them in and almost try them out for a year, practice squad guys for a year, and then you can send them to the waiver wire if you don't like them, so to speak, or encourage them to move on. I mean, I think that part's going to be interesting to see sort of how schools do that. And how kids react to those opportunities versus some other opportunities they have out there. I think this is something that will evolve over time. I don't know that it's a clear-cut answer right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think a lot of this stuff's evolving over time. Yeah, I mean, and I wonder how coaches. I mean, I think coaches will. I mean, I think coaches will learn how they're going to do it, and I think the NIL aspect of it is fascinating, and I mean, I wonder, does that become like a developmental piece? I just think it's real. I mean, I think it's really interesting, and I think it will evolve from one year to the next in the early going. I mean, I don't think anybody knows the answer right now. Do you? I mean, I don't think there's a uniform, response out there from coaches from how they're going to do it. Do you guys? I mean, I think probably everybody has different ideas.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, the SEC in trying to figure it out decided not to go to 105 in the 25 season, right? AP. I mean, this will start in January that they go to 105, not right now.
Correct. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So, I mean, I think this gives you a year to or a fall to kind of figure out what you're going to do and get yourself organized, as opposed to, hey, we've settled this in the end of June, have it ready by August 1.
Bring 20 more kids in.
Yeah.
How disappointed was Tony and the staff on Lloyd's decision to portal? Yeah, I kind of spoke on it earlier. They did not want to lose him. They obviously had a defined role for him this year. They liked his makeup. I think for Dylan, he just wanted an opportunity to explore, more versatility, and maybe that means starting. Obviously, a draft year coming up, so he kind of did what's best for him. But it's kind of one of those things where we don't want to lose you, but you're gone. Okay, we're going to replace you. Tennessee just keeps on rolling.
I don't know that I've seen a college pitcher have 33 appearances and pitch 34 innings. I mean, he was a one-batter guy. I mean, I know
even Kirby had some length at times last year.
I mean,
right?
I think his longest outing was like 3 2/3 or something like that. I mean, it was. I mean, I just think he's looking for more than being the, hey, go get one guy out for us, which is what he became for most of the season for Tennessee. And I understand where Tennessee had him in that role. I also understand where Dylan Lloyd wanted a bigger role with more opportunities to not necessarily throw more days, but throw longer spans when he's on the field, as opposed to just, hey, cool, you threw 3 pitches and you got a guy out. Thanks. And that happened a lot for him this year, which is what they wanted him and needed him to do.
33 appearances, 34 innings, 36 strikeouts. And don't forget, he missed the first week and a half of the year. So, there's 4 or 5 games in there that he didn't even have the opportunity to pitch in. Pretty remarkable stuff. BillVol 18, who are the best athletes to ever step on campus, regardless of sports?
Rob Lewis, this is a favorite question of yours. Who you got? Football, basketball, who you got?
Eric Berry, for sure. For sure. And Cordero Patterson, definitely on the short list.
Yeah, I mean, from an athletic standpoint.
I mean, just pure athlete.
In terms of people I've seen, I still think if you talk to most people, a lot of people believe Dale Carter was
100
was maybe the best athlete to come through here. I mean, and I'll say this: I mean, Harper and Pickens were good athletes too. Now, I mean, those guys played multiple sports.
This century, hard to top Eric and CP.
I'd agree with that. AP, who we missing?
Zach Kent, Brett Kendrick, Yemi Makanula.
Who was Paul's volleyball playing tight end?
Woody Quinn, baby.
Woody Quinn, 2-sport star.
Smoky Man 15, you're Josh Heupel. What 3 things would you do differently in the last 6 months, knowing what you know now? Last 6 months, I'd go get a quarterback in the December window.
Yep.
Yeah, and probably find a way to get a receiver in the December window as well. Those would be my top 2.
And ban Hubs from spring practice. There's the
Bud_Fox, besides hiring Josh Heupel, what is either the smartest thing you or your favorite thing about Danny White has done during his tenure at UT? So outside of hiring Josh Heupel, what's the best thing or the favorite thing that he's done for Tennessee since being here?
No, man, I think from a fan perspective, no question, standing up to the NCAA. I mean, after years and years of what looked like Tennessee putting their head in the sand and waiting for punishment, I think fans love the fact that Danny White stands up for Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think the other thing that he's done a good job of. I mean, he was hired by her, but continuing to foster and to develop the relationship that he has with John Compton, Randy Boyd, and Donde Plowman changes the whole landscape. I mean, way too many years where this was a divided house from a leadership standpoint on how everybody is going. For those four to be on the same page, it changes the dynamic of everything. And listen, I mean, Donde Plowman obviously trusts Danny immensely. She's followed his lead on things. He's followed her lead on things. I think the way those two have worked together and throw in John Compton and the board of trustees, to me, outside of standing up to the NCAA, it's the relationships that he's had and continued to foster with those people.
For me, I'm going to go off. I'm going to go off the books here. It's hiring Alicia Longworth, because what she's done from a game day presentation standpoint to make Neyland even better has been something most people don't even know who she is. And like the spotlight on the tee, home of the Vols on the press box, or on the West Side Club, the Vol sign, all the fireworks, just the overall presentation of the whole game experience has morphed from very, very old, where the band keeps playing the Darth Vader song over and over again, to much more contemporary. And hey, guess what? They still play the Darth Vader song, but the point is there's more to it now. So, I mean, I just think little things like that, maybe that people go unnoticed, or they don't realize kind of who's behind some of these new features, on campus. But I mean, hey, there's a lot of, quality people that have done some nice things over there.
Yeah, you're exactly. I mean, in terms of a non-competitive, non-sports hire, that's you can certainly say that's Danny White's best hire since he's been at Tennessee. I mean, she was catalyst with Mike Keith's return. Like, she's been involved in a lot of things. I mean, she does. I mean, she's got her hand in working and everything. She's a great asset to the university.
She was really nice to me and Brent when we were bugging her like crazy this winter about Lindsey Nelson Stadium. So
she's really talented. That was a heck of a hire away from Florida.
One more here from Bud Fox. I think the three best athletes on the football team are Mike Matthews, Boo Carter, and Jermod McCoy. Humor me and assume that I have the top three correct. Who would your list be for your next three athletes on the team? Who are the next three best athletes on the team?
That's a great question.
Peyton Lewis up there?
Ethan Davis up there?
What are we talking athletic? Are we talking speed? What are we? That's a pretty vague term here. What are we doing?
Josh Joseph's in that realm.
Yeah, I mean, is it a guy who was a good basketball player and, multiple sports?
Ricky
Is it
Gibson,
a guy
maybe?
who could run really well?
I'd say David Hobbs is up in there.
What are we calling a great?
Caleb Herring. I just thought, size, speed, athleticism, and
I hate these questions because it's hard to. I mean, it's hard to just like specifically, because again, like it's a vague term. Like
Elijah Simmons would be on this list if he was still on the team. I mean, the guy that made the freaks list for the Athletic, 3 of his 5 years here would have been on this list. But, I just thought Peyton Lewis because I thought speed was a main factor for me. It's a good question. I think we named a lot of those guys. The ADaug. In the past cycles, there has been criticism of the staff not pushing for commits and getting them over the finish line. Has that philosophy changed?
No. Have you seen anybody jump in? I mean, that's just not what they do. Like you look at like Tico Crittenden, not going to make it here this weekend because he went ahead and committed to Florida State on Tuesday night. And so, I mean, like, it's just not how they roll, which is why they have to survive these first few weekends. And they've done a pretty good job of that this year. And, there's been a few guys fall off, but nobody that we're like, oh my gosh, we didn't even get him to campus. They're just not going to change that, at least to this point. And so you have to backload, in my opinion. If you went early, it's easy to get forgot about or lost. You got to go late here, Brent, and at least in my opinion, if they're going to continue to go that route of just kind of letting kids be and letting them figure it out on their own and not being like, hey, get in or you're out of here, or we're moving on without you. They just don't do that.
No, they don't. And you're right. If that's what you're going to do, which is, your philosophy, then you better get the last visit or the next to last visit. You better be at the end of the process, not early in the process in terms of guys taking official visits. So, and I think that's kind of where they are at this point.
3 questions here to end this edition of the Mailbag Podcast, and you guys help me with this one because I'm sure I'll forget somebody.
Yes, no, maybe. We'll talk to you later, everybody.
Hyped wants to know, build your starting 9+ pitchers from the past 5 years of Vol baseball. So just, I saw this, I added this question late here to the rundown. I just wrote down 9 names here. Garrett Crochet, Liam Doyle, Chase Burns, Chase Dolander, Drew Beam, Chad Dallas, Blade Tidwell, Sean Humley, and then I put in Ben Joyce. He didn't have a massive role here at Tennessee, but dude threw 104 miles an hour, whatever it was.
Okay.
And of course, he's pitching big league games.
Hold on a minute here. I'm interpreting this question different.
Okay, tell me.
Build your starting 9+ pitchers.
Oh, yeah.
from the
See, that
last
would
5
make more
years of
sense.
Ball baseball. Not 9 pitchers, but your starting 9+ of pitchers. That's how I deemed that. So give me your starting field of play. You've already listed 9 pitchers. Give me
Jordan back and right.
Yeah, that would make a whole lot of sense. Jordan back
I'll
and right.
to sleep. You had overnight feeding. Go ahead.
Drew Gilbert in center.
Gilbert in center. I mean, Inslee's got to be in that conversation, but Gilbert in center.
Who's your left fielder?
Alex Solare's up there. I know I hate these questions because I'm also gonna just forget somebody obvious. Solare in left. Third baseman, goodness gracious, pick your poison, right? I mean, there's 5 guys you could mention there.
Lipscomb.
I was gonna say Trey Lipscomb probably at third.
Who's your shortstop?
The right side's easy.
Liam Spence. Yeah, right side's easy. Liam Spence at short.
Moore and Burke at second and first.
Yeah.
Who's behind the plate?
Pavoloni. Yeah, probably Connor Pavoloni. There's a lot of old Vols in here.
Where's Beck? Right field?
Yeah, we set him off this jump. Right.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. But I mean, Inslee deserves to be in the conversation in center. I mean, Garrett Crochet easily would be the 1. Liam Doyle probably the number 2. Chase Dolander Dolander the number 2. Liam Doyle or Chase Burns the number 3.
I'm gonna throw a bullpen game. Start with Kirby. Go with
Rev Walsh, get him in there.
You're gonna throw a Friday bullpen. I like it.
Tuesday bullpen.
I mean, I know I'm probably forgetting somebody obvious. I mean, third base, you could literally go 4 or 5 different guys. Couple guys for short. Yeah, I'll roll with that. I think that's a pretty solid roster right there. Joeymac, why is there such a massive difference in the ranking from On3 and 247 Sports? On3 has us ranked 11th, 247 has us ranked 30th. Is there that big of a difference in player rankings? Seems odd.
Honestly, I haven't looked at the 24/7 rankings. I haven't even taken a look at that, so it doesn't I don't get caught up in the rankings, and that's been that way for a long time. And I will tout them, Tennessee landed a 4-star or 5-star, whatever. But like at the end of the day, internally, I go, who'd that kid pick Tennessee over? Is it Wake Forest and Louisville, or is it, Alabama and Georgia? That's kind of where I'm at. I don't care what the star ranking says.
Last question, Memphis Mitch14. Is this the most open the SEC has seemed in a while? Goes on to say, I see everyone predicting Texas, everybody expecting Manning to be good, Georgia, elite roster to win the SEC, but I'm not sure I feel super confident in either. I feel like the season could be crazy with so many unknowns on several SEC teams. These are the years I feel like Tennessee always sneaks up on people when they have a good roster, but nobody's really expecting much.
I was just saying, I think it's just the quarterbacks. I mean, don't you guys? I mean, other than you look at Arch, and then after that, you don't have a parade like you've had in the past.
You're banking. If you're a fan of the league and you're looking for the league to do well, you're banking on Sellers continuing to make a big jump at South Carolina after what he did last year. A lot of hope on Lagway, right, making a big jump. But you're looking for guys to make jumps. You don't have proven commodities coming back. I mean, last year you had Milroe coming back. You had Carson Beck coming back. You had Quinn Ewers coming back at Georgia or at Texas. You just had a lot more proven bodies returning at the quarterback position than you have right now. I think you got some talent there, but I think a lot of people think there's going to be some growing pains for that talent. And Rob, you're exactly right. When you don't have a deep quarterback proven commodity in your conference, the conference feels wide open, or it feels much more open than it has in years past.
All right, that is going to do it here for this week's edition of the Volquest Mailbag Podcast. As always, thank you so much for sending in your questions each and every single week. Do it every Thursday right here on Volquest.com. Answer questions throughout the week as well, so we thank you so much for listening to us if you're not a member of the site. But if you want to be a member of the site, we drop notes all the time along General's Quarters, best place for Tennessee conversation, greatest online community for Tennessee fans that's out there. $1 for 7 days, $1 for your first week right now to try us out. Join us over at Volquest.com. Just the tip of the iceberg, listening or watching us here on the podcast. We thank you, but there's so much more to be offered. Even in the middle of summer, recruiting is going on right now, baseball transfer portal, so much happening right now. We're talking about it, covering it all over at Volquest.com. For Rob Lewis, Brent Hubbs, Austin Price, I'm Eric Kane. Appreciate you guys for joining us here on the Mailbag Podcast.